Hey guys, it's James Erickson.
And this is Andres. Recently we asked you guys to share your ideas for some Nintendo crossover games that merge two Nintendo worlds together. Truthfully, we received many similar concepts and obvious choices, but many of you also took more inventive routes. Regardless, we very much enjoyed all of your responses.
As promised, we narrowed the results down to our top 5 favorites. Winners were chosen based on an overall originality and creativity for their game's storylines and gameplay details. Be sure to stick around for the top 10 honorable mentions. But for now, here are our top 5 picks.
Kirby has met a plethora of fascinating characters over the past 25 years, but never tiny pilot Captain Olimar. Well, at least not in his own game. Kicking off our list is M-School's idea for a game that brings their two worlds together. After Kirby crash lands his Warp Star on a strange spaceship, he meets Olimar, and the two quickly connect. Not only because they're both bubbly, likable characters, but because of a common enemy as well. Kirby learns from Olimar that a big-bellied menace has been enslaving Pikmin on various nearby planets, forcing them to help carry out his evil plans. Which actually isn't too different from what Olimar does himself, but that's a conversation for another time. Kirby identifies this greedy fool to be King DDD, and the two agree to team up in order to stop their foe in his tracks. The game takes place on various planets, allowing for imaginative settings combining Kirby and Pikmin's usual charming designs. Players will be able to switch between the two heroes. M-School suggests that Kirby would have new abilities depending on specific items inhaled, such as Flat Kirby to squeeze into tight spaces, Bowling Ball Kirby for knocking down enemies at high speed, and Hypno Kirby for, well, hypnotizing of course. Brand new Pikmin types could also be used once they're rescued, such as Tiny Pikmin and Neon Pikmin to provide light in dark areas. Kirby and Olimar may never have teamed up outside of Smash Bros, but M-School certainly gives a compelling reason for why these delightful heroes should.
To put quite frankly, the F-Zero series has been dead as a doornail since 2004's F-Zero Climax. However, with the innovations of its early games and the popularity of Captain Falcon due to a little-known game called Super Smash Bros., fans have been holding out hope for a new game in the series. However, until a new F-Zero does release, Baylaf Animation's contest idea begs the question, why not at least bring back the series' main hero? And who better to help restore him to former glory than the legendary galactic bounty hunter, Samus Aran? Baylaf's game begins as Samus and Captain Falcon are pursuing the same bounty. After an initial fight in which they believe to be on opposite sides, the two decide to team up for an epic two-player beat-em-up adventure. Their journey takes them through monster-filled caves, criminal-infested hideouts, and eventually, when together they realize their bounty played a part in a much larger scheme, out into space. Baylaf explains that Captain Falcon controls, as a standard beat-em-up character, light and heavy attacks, top-notch agility, fancy combos to show off his moves, while Samus retains abilities seen in her own games, light beams, missiles, charge shots, morph balls, the whole shebang. The enemies and bosses they encounter are of course taken from both series, like Kraid, Samurai Goro, Black Shadow, and of course, Ridley. For the final boss, Baylaf pits the two bounty hunters against their darker counterparts, Blood Falcon and Dark Samus. The idea is a risky one for sure, but who could say no to experiencing these two rebels kicking butt together?
One Nintendo franchise that has done just about everything is the Mario Kart series. The games have sent their characters to space, underwater, a child's playroom. They've raced alone, together, upside down, in the air. The series could benefit from another fresh start, like, say, merging the game with another long-forgotten and yet entirely underrated racing game. Navi Boy brings the one-of-a-kind Kirby Air Ride into the picture to spice up the Mario racing world. He even proposes a story mode to kick things off. One evening while Mario and the gang are racing it up on Rainbow Road, one of the crew, let's say Yoshi, inevitably falls off, but Lakitu is nowhere in sight to save him. Terrified, Yoshi spirals down through space as the rest of the gang watches in horror. However, minutes later, the infamous Halberd, piloted by Meta Knight himself, rises up toward the track with Yoshi in tow. Relieved, the gang races to meet their friend and thank his rescuers. Kirby and Meta Knight appear and explain that this has been happening a lot lately, alien creatures plummeting down from the sky into Dreamland. The gang comes to realize that the Lakitus have gone missing, thus creating unfair and dangerous racing. Mario asks Kirby for his assistance in recovering the Lakitus, and after a conversation where they recognize their shared love for racing, he agrees, and thus a new era of racing is born. Navi Boy goes on to explain that the game will have a variety of modes, such as regular Mario Kart racing, Kirby Air Ride styled racing, Battle Mode and all of its contents, and then Kirby Air Ride's City Trial Mode. As mentioned before, there would also be Story Mode, which Navi describes would work similar to a Grand Prix, but bosses would be raced at the ends of cups, with cutscenes afterward that lead the gang closer to solving the mystery of the Lakitus. Spoiler alert, they've been kidnapped by Mario characters who've never received an invitation to race, like King Babam and Kamek among others. How fitting is that? It's a very creative idea that merges a successful racing game with a lost one, adding up to one heck of a good time.
Some of the greatest games are ones that pack together memorable characters, a solid story that balances drama and comedy, freedom to explore and discover, and some satisfyingly intense gameplay. Light Dark Soul pitches a game that combines the worlds of Kid Icarus and The Legend of Zelda, two universes that complement each other perfectly in all the aforementioned ways. This game takes place after the events of Breath of the Wild, and follows Link as he is sent to Pit's dimension after being called upon by Palutena, who reached out to the goddesses of the Triforce. She implores him to help aid the high-spirited Pit in freeing their world, recently corrupted by an unknown evil. As Light Dark Soul mentions, one of the best parts of this pairing is how they would react to one another's personalities, as well as their different approaches to saving the world. On one side, you've got the silent but thoughtful Link, careful in his planning and down to earth, and then there's Pit, who enjoys being the center of attention and would probably get frustrated with Link's silence.
Get out of my way!
The two set out on an open-world adventure with a playstyle similar to Kid Icarus Uprising. The heroes would aid gods and humans on various quests, collecting weapons and items seen in both games, and ultimately vanquish the unknown evil who, surprise, turns out to be Ganon. Light Dark Soul explains that after the final battle in Breath of the Wild, with his last ounce of power, Ganon managed to tear a hole in space and escape into Pit's dimension. He regained his power by taking prey to the natural evil of Hades and Medusa. There is so much history, heart, and greatness to pull from in these two games. Uniting them together for one epic adventure would only make too much sense.
What's the best way to revive an old game? Based on the Orca Whale's idea, it sounds like the answer might be to generate a brand new world built from the old game, with a helping hand from a successful modern one. Orcas Game is a 3D platformer starring Popo and Nana, otherwise known as the Ice Climbers. During a mountaintop exploration, an avalanche leads the duo into a cave where they discover a large frozen spaceship. Turns out, this spacecraft is actually the Comet Observatory, and trapped within ice beside it is Rosalina herself. With their handy-dandy tools, the Ice Climbers break her free. The mother of Lumas thanks the pair and begins to recount the story of how many years ago, the observatory was struck by a meteor, sending it spiraling down as all of its power stars scattered across the mountaintops. Popo and Nana agreed to help Rosalina restore the aircraft to its former glory. The game would allow up to 2 players, choosing between either both Ice Climbers or Rosalina, who would work together to explore the mountain range, villages, various caves, and more in order to recover the power stars. Climbing would of course be essential to gameplay, and would provide a unique experience not seen in a true Nintendo game in quite some time. Along with fighting snow monsters, classic and modern bosses, building new tools and supplies, unfreezing more innocent Toads and Lumas, the Orca Whale's game would add up to one cool, fresh experience that begs to be played for hours on end.
Congratulations on our top 5 winners. And now, here are the top 10 honorable mentions. Big thanks to everyone who participated in our contest. If you're bummed you didn't make the cut, fear not. There will be more creative contests in the future. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and share with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to Erickson Gaming for more contests, as well as tournaments, discussions, live streaming, and much more video game content. This has been James and Andres Erickson. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.